Hey guys, happy Monday. Today is Monday, May 20th, 2019. I can't tell you how excited I am to have Chantal Patton on the show with me today. It's been a long time coming. She has an amazing story. She and her husband and her daughters, they have a great story. The traveling, the new cultures, the blogging, the vlogging, the learning. I'm so excited. Anyway, we want you guys to let us know if you can hear us or see us. We had a little bit of trouble with the connectivity earlier today, and I know we're at a different time. Shirley Stamper, what's up? Give us a heart, a thumbs up. Let us know you can hear us or see us. This is actually easier when we have two people. The last two shows had three people. Susie Parker, what's going on? Give us a thumbs up. See, we got a kiss from her. All right, so we've been friends for a long time. We've known each other for a very long time, and you were here local, really, when this whole journey started. So tell them a little bit about you, a little bit of your origin, and then we definitely want to get to growing up without borders.
Sounds good. So as Ted said, I'm Chantal Patton. We are actually originally from Canada, so if anyone's there from Canada,
that's that little accent.
Let us know.
I like it.
Yeah, and you know, we suffer from cold weather, and everyone lives really at the border of that Canadian border, trying to get as much south as we can. So back in 2008, we decided to take a plunge and come to Florida. And so we went back and forth for many years, and it was just amazing. So we work from home, we run online businesses, so it allowed us that opportunity to come here with the girls. And so that's where I met you.
You are in the wedding planning business. That's sort of how we met, right? Because Michelle Rodriguez,
right.
Got to give a shout out to Michelle, because she messaged me. She goes, Chantal's going to be on the show. I'm like, I know. Michelle Rodriguez introduced us.
That's right.
And here at the Citrus Club. Gotta love the Citrus Club. But wedding planning was your primary business well, that's what I remember.
Correct,
initially.
Yes. Online marketing, and we help a lot of companies market them through an online wedding planner in Canada. And so we are able to run the business from anywhere. And so fast forward, in 2013, we decided to go on a 5-week holiday to Europe. And as most of you guys know watching, if you've been to Europe, it is beautiful. So
it's life-changing. We were talking about that earlier. It's really life-changing.
And now
travel is life-changing.
Yes. So fast forward, 5.5, 6 years almost now, and we just haven't stopped. So we just kept going and going.
So what's great about that, I love this story. So you have these businesses, so you actually have that dream and there's a lot of this stuff going on now. Do your job and travel the world.
Yeah, right.
But you did more than that. You not only had to do your job, married couple, 3 younger children, and you're taking them. You don't really have a specific place. There was to me, when I'm reading your story and I'm watching and I try to follow, you're everywhere is what it felt like.
Well, now especially. I mean, we just keep moving from one place to the next. And so we do have a home base, and which is in Europe right now. But from there, we kind of launch off. And for example, we just haven't been home since September. So we did all of Central America this time around.
Wait, you haven't been home since September?
We have not been home. We're living out of one little suitcase. If you can imagine, I don't know how many women.
All right, so I don't know how you do that. And you have 3 daughters.
Yes.
So okay, so this is fascinating. This is good travel tips. How do you travel and live out of one suitcase? Do you buy stuff in every place and have it shipped?
No, you learn to be a minimalist. You really do.
I was going to ask you if minimalist was part of that.
It is part of being able to do. And if not, you'd just be too heavy. To move around as much as we do, it would be too heavy. If you're going on a 1-week, 2-week holiday, it's easy, right? But if you're going to be traveling in and out of places, it's just, you got to go as light as you can.
So you went for a while, you were in Switzerland,
correct,
right? And so that's where you guys decided you were going to extend. Did you know at the time that you were going to extend and this was going to be basically your life?
No. So what happened is we went for 5 weeks, and we were in Spain and France and Italy, and Switzerland was one. And I had a friend there, and she said, you know what, let's do a house exchange. I'll come here to Florida and we'll just exchange homes. And so that's how it all started. And so 5 weeks turned into 3 months, and we loved it. I mean, we just fell in love, and everything's so close, and the proximity to everything.
It's true.
So then we decided, okay, well, let's do a trial run. So we came back and went right back again and did 3 months. We actually put our girls in a school. It was only French, so they learned to speak French really fast. And we loved it. And then from there, we just started,
How did they adapt? So you're the adults, you're making the decision, you're mom and dad, but you're taking 3 children with you, and they're going outside of their 9 dots, whether they want to or not. And so how was that? How was that adjustment? And then the languages. I definitely want to talk about that because Europe, I mean, most people speak English in Europe, but that's not the point. Don't you want to be immersed and figure it out? And see, Stacy just got on. It's all about travel, babe, by the way. But how did that work? Did they fight you in the beginning? I'm just thinking of kids in general.
Well, they did not, and surprisingly enough, I think this is their normal. I mean, if they were only leaving at this point in age, they're now 11, 13, 15. I think it would be maybe a little bit difficult because they have grounded roots, but we uprooted them from Canada to here and then uprooted them to Europe. And then when we were in Europe, we just, we've done 99 countries. So
say that again. You've done 99
yes,
countries.
It's crazy. So,
that's crazy. I didn't even know there were 99 countries. Does that make me terrible at geography?
There's almost 200. So.
Oops. I know there's 7 continents. There you go. So what was we were talking earlier before the show. So I want to get to your favorite places, and then maybe some places you're like, well, you should try it once, but I wouldn't necessarily stay there all the time. You want to get the dirt a little bit, right?
Oh, no.
So, but how was it when they're having to learn, right? So they're going to different schools, you're traveling, even though you initially put them in a school where they were there all the time, you began to travel, I believe, so much that you couldn't really have them
that's
there,
what happened.
right?
Yeah, I mean, they're very strict in Switzerland. Is where we put them in school, and we actually received an official notice, like, you can no longer take your kids out of school, because we were, going away on our work contracts for a month to 4 months, and we would extend them, and so it's just not fair. So we were kind of forced, if you will, into homeschooling them. So this is year 3 of homeschooling the girls full time while we're on the road, and
how does that work? So are you adept enough at languages? Are you teaching them languages? Or are they, because you're immersed in different cultures all the time in countries, they're kind of learning it just the natural way?
Yeah, I would say our approach is a little bit of a world schooling curriculum, if you will. So they do have a curriculum that they do follow, which does include math and science, and that's more so where their heads are into the books. But we do world schooling in the sense that everywhere we go, they're seeing museum and history and culture, and they're learning the geography hands-on.
I love it.
And so it's a different educational process that they have, and the languages they just immerse. So the girls now are fully fluent in French and English, of course, but they can get by on Spanish. So they can understand almost everything when people speak Spanish. They just don't know all the verbs to speak back. And
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Do they think it's cool? That's what I want to ask them. So do you think it's cool, or
I think it's normal. Like, they don't think it's any different.
Normal.
They just, for them it's totally normal.
I love that. All right, so let's talk about countries you've been to. So we were talking a little bit about how it's more challenging right now in the world that we live in, maybe to travel, but we were talking about the one suitcase you have, which I still can't figure that out. But hey, and Wyatt says hello. Hi, Wyatt.
Hello, hi, Wyatt.
What are some of the countries that you went that you just love? Like, this feels good. We're good. We like to go back, because all I can think about is food. I'm sorry, I'm a food and wine, right?
Oh
so
gosh.
wine
Europe.
or booze or something, right?
Okay.
But you know where I can't figure out where to go, and maybe you can educate me, is like, I don't know what the food is in Sweden. And so when you go, you have 3 kids. Kids tend to be picky. They go through this phase. How do you get them fed, and then what are some of the favorites that you went to?
Well, when you travel, there is no such thing as picky.
you gotta just deal.
You can't be in a country, and certain countries you have access to everything, and other countries you really have access to nothing. And so you have to learn to be adaptable. And of course, if you're in for the food and the wine and all that, it's Europe, man. It's so much Europe. It's so good.
So yummy.
But we love it. I mean, we love it there. We don't really like cold weather, so we tend to leave. But what was your question?
Well, no, I'm just curious, like favorites, favorite countries. And it doesn't have to be based on food, but that's what I'm going to ask next.
I love Spain. I love Switzerland, and pretty much any of that kind of European area there. I just love it. Love
that
everything
whole
about
area,
it.
just everything's different, but the food and the drink, of course, and the culture, yeah.
And
but I don't know enough. Like, I feel ignorant, me personally, about anything further east. I've been to Turkey.
Okay.
But I've never been to Norway, Sweden, Denmark, that whole thing.
Something north. I mean,
And that's cold, so that's not necessarily my favorite thing on the planet.
Right.
Either.
I mean, but in the summer you can go over into the Balkans, and then you have, even we went up into Moldova and up into the Ukraine and Romania, and I mean, there's just, and everything is so different and so unique, and it has such rich culture to offer, and it's just amazing.
So you gave me your top 3 before we went live of places. So tell them what your top 3 are.
Well, Switzerland, Spain, and Nicaragua.
This was the surprise, right? So if you haven't been, well, I've never been to Nicaragua, but I've been to Switzerland and Spain, and I get that. Like, it's just lovely, Swiss chalet, like you got that whole thing going.
Dave Benson,
the food, what's up, Dave Benson? The food in Spain, and of course Switzerland's so close to Italy, France.
That's
like
right.
You've got
You can
all
hop
the
around.
influences there. But Nicaragua was a surprise. So talk about
It was
that.
a surprise to us because they were going through such a political uproar just a few months ago, and so it was a little bit, I might say, scary for us to go. And we were going to spend 3 days, guys, and we were going to go through the country and get out. Then we discovered this little pocket called, hey Dave, this pocket called San Juan del Sur, and it's like a surf kind of area, and it's very unique, and you just have to go experience it because it's like no other. And so we just fell in love with it. We fell in love with the people there, the little community, and kind of just had a little bit of a day-to-day. And I'm not sure if it's because we needed that break just to stop for a little bit, and it just felt so nice, and we met really neat people, or if it was just the whole area. But it has a really unique
3
feel.
days turned into what?
Like, I think 8 weeks or something. That tends to be our pattern.
That's your MO. I love it.
Don't ask me how long we're going to be here in Orlando.
Oh, you don't know? See, that's it. But how wonderful is that? I think people, so to me that seems glorious, right? Because I'm on such a scheduled, everything is scheduled all the time. What's the name of the little town again?
Tony, it's called San Juan del Sur.
Yes. What she said.
Really close to the Costa Rican border.
But I think people, they in their minds, they think what you're talking about sounds amazing.
Now, just to clarify, San Juan is not for everyone. You don't have access to all the stores, the name brands, none of that. It's an experience. So I just want to clarify in case,
So that's a great point. So you all have, and I want to ask, maybe you don't have to give me all 3 of your bottom ones that you might not go back to, but I think that it's not always the most amazing experience. I guess you all choose to make out of it. You make good stuff out of everything. But are there countries that you're like, all right, I enjoyed it, but I don't have to go spend 8 weeks again there?
I don't want to be mean to any country.
I was afraid if I asked you that question, that's what you'd say, because I know you. And
I like to look at the positive of everything, but okay, you want me to say?
Yeah, just give one. I mean, I would, me personally, would base it on the food and the people, right? So if the food would be it for me. If I couldn't find something good to eat.
Okay, and that's sometimes what I'm talking about. Like, we've been to places like Malawi in Africa, and the people, though, are amazing.
Beautiful people.
But you have no electricity for maybe sometimes 6 to 8 hours a day, and depending on where you are, you have no access to food like we would have access to here. And it makes it a really enriching experience to see and experience it, but I don't necessarily want to go back there.
I mean, you experienced it, the kids experienced it, but you don't, it's not something, and that's okay, but that's a great thing about travel.
Unless it's to go there to help. Because
Correct.
there is so much work to do.
They have, at all of Africa, I feel like there's so much work. That's one place I have not been. I've not been anywhere. Hey, what's up, John? I've not been anywhere in Africa, and I would really like to go.
You would love it.
I have friends in South Africa,
Okay, yep.
which is a little different. First of all, I love their wine.
Yeah.
South African wine is to die for. But I know that it's developed. And there's part of me, though, that I want to go see I want to see the animals. I want to see that.
And you can see so
But
much.
Stacy, I guarantee you, if she's watching and shaking her head, absolutely not. She has no desire to go to Africa.
Oh my goodness.
But I have a friend who, her Instagram and Facebook is 7 continents girl. So she's been on all 7. She's on Antarctica, and she travels, and she had no kids. So her life, to me, that is, I get it. You're single, you got all this ahead of you, you can do whatever it is that you want. You don't have to think about anybody but you.
Yeah.
So how is it on the planning side? We talked about the one suitcase. So tell these people, because I don't think, it's very hard for me to believe that you live as a woman in one suitcase.
I do.
I mean, I'm a dude and I need one suitcase for my shoes.
I know.
Just letting you know.
Okay, it is the one thing we do honestly miss is the variety. You just end up wearing the same thing kind of over and over again, and you'll see if any of you go over to our videos on YouTube, we wear the same clothes quite often, but it just makes it so much easier because when we are in certain countries, you have to go on and off sometimes public buses, you're just moving around so much, and imagine you're lugging everything. I mean, it's just not doable.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot to carry luggage. I'm sorry, it just is. Sometimes I wish I would use that service where they ship it and then they ship it back.
Yeah.
But you obviously can't do that because you're on the move all the time. When you're in Switzerland, you have regular bedrooms, clossets.
Yeah.
Right, you have a house, you have a base.
That's our home base,
okay,
yes.
okay.
And that's so nice because then we get back to all of our variety of shoes. You know, as women, we miss our shoes. And so we get to have...
Dudes too.
Oh, man.
I do. What is the next step? So talk about growing up without borders. That came because of your travel. That wasn't like the plan and then we traveled to fit it.
No, we only started that 2 years ago. And so we left in 2013, our kind of adventure. And that grew out of it because a lot of people kept saying, you guys need to write a book or you guys need to do something. And we, we're more private. And so we were like, well, and it was a family decision. We sat with the kids and the girls were like, we should do a YouTube channel. And we had no idea. We were outside of the U.S. for so long. We had no idea how many vloggers were doing, this and that. And so we started looking into it. We're like, oh my gosh, we could do that. And it's what we do. And it's fun. We're having so much fun with it. And so, yeah, it kind of evolved.
And so you have, people, I feel very honored. There's a lot of people who want to see you this week while you're here. And there's people who want to interview you and talk because you have to go. It's on YouTube, Growing Up Without Borders, right?
Correct.
So go to that. And when we share everything, I promise we'll put the link to the YouTube channel. But if you've ever wanted to travel, what are some of the and what's some advice you would give? Let's say, all right, Chantal, I want to quit my job, and now it's time for me to travel. I want to figure out what I want to do.
All right. Okay. So the first thing is nothing's ever going to be lined up properly or 100%. So do not let that stop you. If you have the desire in your heart, there's always a way to make it work, and there's always. Oh, Michelle's on.
Oh, hi, Michelle. What's up? Hey, Louie.
She's the connector to us.
She's the connector.
So there's never the right time, and nothing's ever going to be correct, or you're never going to be ready. But if you take that step forward, you're always getting something backing you. And we've experienced this over and over and over. We've been in situations where we're like, this is not possible, and God backs us basically. We get backed up, and it's just amazing. So you take that kind of. I don't want to be you take a leap of faith and you just take that first step and things line up for some reason and they just do. But, so jump, that would be my
jump. And I think that's so important. I think that there's a lot of people who watch the show. And what I want you to know is that she did not have all the answers when they made the jump or leap. She still doesn't. Did you hear that? None of us do. So if you want to make the leap, you can't wait till you think you have everything in place, is what Chantal's saying. And I agree 100%. You've got to make the leap. Do I want you to be home? We were talking about it earlier. I don't want you to be living in a car because you made a leap, right? I want you to have a little bit of planning.
Of course.
But you have to know what you're going to do a little bit. But that doesn't mean it should stop you. Stacy and I joke, if we waited to have kids until we were quote unquote ready, we'd still be waiting to have kids.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think that when you're doing any kind of major life choice, you just have to go for it. Otherwise, what are you going to do? You're going to nobody even retires anymore. You're going to be 70 years old doing the same job that you absolutely hate, not having seen anything in the world, done anything you wanted to do, and wondering where all the time went.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of people don't want to take the leap. They are surrounded by people who don't support them. So talk about that.
Yeah.
Did you get a lot of people who said, oh my God, you two are crazy?
Yeah, all the time. I think people still do think we're crazy. We are crazy. Yeah, crazy works for us.
But crazy's good.
Yeah,
crazy's adventurous. One person's crazy is another person's adventure. You just have to, it's how you frame it. But I know people probably like, oh my God, my kids would hate me, or my kids could never do that, or my kids...
for sure. My kids can never travel this long in a car for this many whatever, or And Michelle's saying she remembers when I said we were
That
going away
story,
for a month,
absolutely.
right?
1 month turned into 3, turned into 5, turned into a lifetime. 5 years, 6 years we're at.
But yeah, I mean, it's just phenomenal.
I think a lot of people will say, all right, well, they obviously have kids that are adaptable. My kids are not. But all kids, she's now got 2 teenagers and an 11-year-old coming up, going to bring up the rear there. And so 3 girls, hormonal, all now they also, it's not even about the hormones, it's about what their needs are, because now that they're individual kids, it's not like they're cookie cutter kids.
Right.
So they've traveled the world, they've taken the experience in the way that they do. And now they're beginning, I'm sure, to figure out, all right, well, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. And it doesn't always have to be in line with mom and dad. So your 15-year-old is starting to get into that world where they think about, okay, I'm going to turn 18. Am I going to college? Am I going to do a career? I'm going to continue to travel with mom and dad.
Right.
Do you guys have those conversations with the kids?
Oh, we sure do, yeah. And it's funny because she actually wants to own and operate hotels around the world. So I'm not sure if doing all this has influenced that decision, but it's interesting to see, which path or which direction they're going to go in. But that is one of the reasons why in a couple short years we will have to, have a settled down kind of procedure, because she will be going to school.
Right.
And so we do have to consider all those things as well.
What I love too is you've helped, I believe, you've helped build their entrepreneurial spirit, because you have to have some sort of entrepreneurial thought process to not be at a home base every day and 9 to 5 and clock in and clock out.
And you have to have the desire.
You do have to have the desire.
You have to have the desire, and then let's just make it happen. Because a lot of people will say, oh, I wish I could do this. Well, you can. You just have to, we always say just write it all down and then work backwards. How can we get that, right? And so that's what we do.
When I think of you guys, and I make fun of the show because it's funny, but I think of you all as the actual epitome of what the show's about. When the butterfly collector and the person who, I don't know, paints art want $1 million show and want to move across the country on HGTV, and you know that couple I'm talking about, and they're going to uplift their entire world to go there, and they don't always have the best plan either, but at least they're taking a risk, they're doing it, and sometimes some of the money they spend, I'm like, $500 a month on a flat? That's like an apartment, by the way. $500 a month on a flat? Wow, you really did go over there with nothing. But they want their desire to go and their desire to travel and to do something different and expand their world was bigger than the money issues that I think were controlling them here. You have to have some courage too, right? You also have to you probably have to be adept at so many things. First of all, the packing, but internet, we were talking about that. You have to, if you have a business, you have to be able to be flexible and mobile. Not every business, if you're a police officer, it's going to be very hard for you to be mobile unless you get in the police force in XYZ country. So you really have to look at what your talents are and what your resources are, but I also don't want them to be a limitation. Right?
Yes.
So have you done the book?
I have not.
Okay, so the book's got to be coming out of this.
We have to create a book.
I mean,
we write blogs on some of the places, but mostly it's on video. But we should. We have a lot of stories that we don't share, that, challenges that we go through.
You don't have to tell them all the challenges, but I want them to leave knowing that just because, like, she's a happy person and she obviously loves her life and what she's doing, it shows. That doesn't mean that every day is just sunshine and birds flying around her head.
Of course not.
And I think people sometimes when they come on the show, they hear that and they're like, God, well, she's got the best attitude. Look, we all have bad days. We have dark days and we have stuff that we're challenged with. So tell them a little bit. Like, living out of one suitcase seems to me like the biggest challenge on the planet. I lose my mind.
It's amazing. Well, like, you just are faced with challenges on a daily basis when you're moving around like that. There's a lot of situations that we get put under, and stress, like, it's added stress, right, to your life, and things that, when you have like a day in, day out the same thing over and over again, you don't get much stuff thrown at you. But when you are in different countries, you don't speak the language. It happened to us in Belarus. We don't speak Belarusian, and we arrived past
I didn't even know there was a
check-in.
Belarusian language.
Yeah, right? It's like Russian. I didn't know it was different either. And the lady wouldn't check us in because we were past the check-in time, and they're very regimented. So we're there. We have no hotel, no stay. you know, and so you're put into situations like
Wow.
that. So it's not always easy, right? And we don't always show that, though. We don't always show the challenges and the hard things that we go through, but that's what makes
There
the
are
adventure
them,
fun.
but that's correct. All right, so before we head out, one last question. Is on the places that you haven't been, is there any upcoming place that you're going that you're super excited to go? Do you have a plan for somewhere you haven't been? 99 countries you've been to, and I know your goal is to get to all 200-ish. What's next on the agenda that you're excited for?
One of the ones that I'm really excited for, and a lot of people who have been are like, oh, it was the worst experience ever, and a lot of people had amazing experiences. So it's going to be one of these countries, and it's India. So I am excited to go to India. I love Indian food, first of all.
Me too.
And it's going to be amazing because we are going to see, like, probably, I think the poorest of poorest is what people have said, and sometimes there's this different smells, and I mean, depending on where we're going to go. So I think that's going to be one of the...
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I would like to go there.
Yes.
I love Indian food. The funny thing is, too, real quick, Americanized food. I love you, Darden, but Olive Garden is not Italian food. There's a lot of things that I know that you get over there. The one thing I don't ever want to do, I think, is I don't want anything on my plate to move. So I'm a little bit scared of some of the Asian countries because I've seen the food. It's fascinating. Have you ever experienced anything like that where you're like, there is no way I'm eating that?
We've tried crazy things.
Have you? We're going to leave it at that. All right. So we're going to share all of Chantal's contact information, the YouTube channel, Growing Up Without Borders, how you can reach out to her. I mean, if you have any interest in learning about travel and what it's like to travel the world, not just by yourself, with kids, with a family. We didn't mention your lovely husband, but maybe once or twice, but you know, he's part of the deal too.
He sure is.
He's traveling with 4 women.
Yeah,
God bless him. But I think that I'm sure people will have questions because if I wanted to answer a question about travel, you're the person I'd want to ask.
Well, thank you.
Right? All right. So any parting words of wisdom for them? Anything you want to share before we head out?
Just thanks for having me, and basically, yeah, jump, do it, go, whatever you're thinking to do, just go for it. That's what I would suggest.
Go for it. Life's too short,
yes,
guys.
Absolutely.
Life's
100%.
too short.
Yes.
So you've been a joy to have on. I'm so excited we finally
Yes.
got to do it.
Yay.
Now I'm motivated
Make sure
again
you
to
guys-
travel.
Yay, and follow us. Make sure you follow and subscribe to our channel, like you said.
Growing
Growing
Up Without Borders
And thanks for having me.
on YouTube.
Yay.
All right, thank you. Shout out to Michelle for the intro
Thanks,
many moons
Michelle.
ago. All right, we love you guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Mwah.
Bye.
See you soon.